Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today in the Locker Room. I'm Alan Locher. Emmy Award-winning actress Laura Wright is here today to celebrate her 30-year career working in the daytime television industry. Laura made her TV debut as Ally Rescott on Loving on June 25th, 1991. At Loving, Laura was paired with Paul Anthony Stewart, who played Casey to her Ally. Laura played the role of Ally on Loving up until the debut of The City in 1995 and played Ally on The City until the show's demise in March of 1997. Laura and I met when she joined the cast of Guiding Light in August of 1997, where she played the role of Cassie Layne Winslow, a role she played for 8 years. At Guiding Light, she was paired with Frank Grillo, Bradley Cole, David Andrew McDonald, and a few others before moving to the West Coast and joining Port Charles General Hospital. Laura took over the role of Carly Corinthos in November of 2005, where she has been playing that role for the past 16 years, and she has certainly made Carly her own. Carly has been paired with some talented men, including Maurice Bernard, Ingo Rademacher, Steve Burton, and Roger Howarth. In 2011, 20 years into her daytime career, Laura earned her first Daytime Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress, a long overdue recognition. Please welcome to the Locker Room, my friend, Laura Wright.
Oh, wow, Alan, that just makes me want to cry.
Well, 30 years, I mean, first of all, you don't look it, but like it is an incredible milestone. When somebody says that number and that you've worked in, one industry successfully, how does that make you feel?
Oh my gosh, it's so overwhelming. It's incredible. It's you all of a sudden like look at all the shows and all the peoples and the time and all the people and the time you were there, and it's overwhelming that and the incredible memories I have. It's such an honor. I love what I do. I've loved every single show. I've loved every experience. I miss New York City with everything in me. I do every day.
You still do?
Oh yeah. I mean,
wow.
California's great and the weather's amazing, but it's just nothing like New York.
Yeah.
So I can't believe it. And you think, where did 30 years go? And the pictures you put up, I was like, oh my gosh, I remember every one of those times in my life. So
good. I might have a few more. Take me back to, you were pumping gas at the gas station. What was Laura Sisk's plan before Loving came knocking?
It's really funny. I was 20, getting ready to turn 21, and I was still living with my parents, never really been away from home. And I was going to just own a gas station and run a business like my dad. And at the time I had 4 jobs. I was managing a tanning salon, working for my parents during the day, working for my brother on Saturdays, and Sunday I was selling pretzels at RFK Stadium for the Washington football team. And so, and I loved it. I always had money. I always get to meet people. Life was fun. I just wanted to work and go do what I wanted to do. And I just auditioned on a whim. I say that because I was doing local auditions for modeling and stuff, but I really had no idea what I was doing. And then they wanted me to audition for the soap Loving, and I used to watch the shows. When I worked at my dad's gas station, I had a little black and white TV and one of those little booths, when you would pull up and there's the person by themselves in the booth. And I would watch Loving.
I have this image of like Fargo, or the TV show Fargo, and you see somebody working in a gas station with one of those old TVs. Or
yeah, it's with me. I had the little TV, and I would watch Loving, and then I got off work at 2, so I never really got into One Life to Live because it was when I would get off work and drive home, and so I could watch Loving and All My Children, and then get home in time to watch General Hospital. So it was really bizarre. And I would buy all the soap magazines. I was a fan. I loved it. I was obsessed with Frisco and Felicia. And I remember Luke and Laura's wedding and jumping and screaming on the bed when they got married, and Scotty showed up and stole the bouquet. It's crazy.
I didn't remember that you watched soaps. I couldn't remember if you had.
Loved them.
And your brother.
And nighttime soaps too. Big into Dynasty, Dallas, growing up, A Falcon's Crest, Knots Landing. Oh my God, probably one of my favorite shows ever. So
you and Lisa used to talk Knots Landing, I think.
Yeah. All the time.
All the time. Did your brother play a role in you getting the audition or something?
No, he just hooked me up with a woman. Really, he got a 2-for-1 deal. He got a cheaper deal to get his headshots if he brought me with him. And so I just ended up getting, and those pictures are hilarious. Like, I think I have them in a box somewhere, and they, occasionally come out, and I'm like, oh God, that's just hilarious that I got a job off those.
What was he looking to do? What was he looking to do?
I don't know. I think, I don't know. I think it was one of the many things he was doing at the time. But
2-for-1.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. He's like, I know, because I did acting in high school, and so he was, in theater in high school, and so he's like, hey, come on, and I'm like, all right, sure. And that was like the first of anything I've ever done like that. So wow. I auditioned on videotape and went to the beach, and I got home, and I remember when you had those, I had a Geo Storm was like my first car that I bought myself that I could afford. And I had a phone remember when you had those car phones built into the car, like those like things, and it rang, and it was the woman, her name was Linda Townsend, and she's like, you have a callback. And I'm like, oh, what's that? And she's like, well, it's a screen test. And I'm like, oh, what's that? How many of us are going? Like, I was like, what's this big thing that we get to do? And she's like, just you. And I was like, what? And then she talked about a pre-negotiated contract, and I'd be living in New York. I'm like, whoa, what are you talking about? Like, I never even thought, I thought it was a joke that I was even auditioning. And she called me into her office, and I had to sign all this paperwork. And then I went and I showed up for my audition on Loving with those little disposable cameras. And I was so excited because I was in a room. Jessica Collins, I don't know if you know who she is.
Yeah.
Jesse was in the audition. There were 8 of us being screen tested. And I'm sitting in this room, and I'm listening to them tell us the instructions of what we're all going to do. And we're going to meet with the director one by one and get our blocking. And I see like Lisa Paluzzo, who played Ava, walk in the room. And I'm like, and I'm looking at everyone else in the room like, do you see her? Like, it's Ava. I could give a shit about what this person is telling me. I'm thinking getting the job wasn't even on my mind. I was like, can I get a picture with you? I chased everyone down. Got pictures with everyone. Even walking
with a disposable camera.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like, who let the fan in the building, right? And gave her free reign. Like, there's no security with me. And then I see Susan Lucci, because, in Loving, all my children shot right across the hall, or across a long hall from Loving, and all my children said, they were right across from each other. And as I was walking, I don't know, to the bathroom or something, I see Susan Lucci walking down the hallway, and I'm like, Susan, as if I knew her. And she, in classic beautiful Susan, turns around and she's like, yes. And I'm like, hi, my name's Laura Sisk. I'm auditioning, but can I get a picture with you? And she's like looking around for like help. She's like, and she took a picture.
And if I'm not mistaken, you screen tested with Eric Woodall.
Oh yes, I did.
Well, please welcome Eric Woodall.
Oh my God!
Hi there. I'm so excited to be here.
I just want to jump on your head right now.
Oh, it's so good to see you. I just wanted to be able to say congratulations. I'm so proud of you, Laura. Just listening to that story, I remember you basically attacking her to get a picture.
No shame. And I remember trying to make you thought I was lying to you about, don't you have a brother? And you're like, I know what you're doing.
I did. I thought Laura was very crafty, which you were. She was very crafty, but in a completely innocent way. And that was, and continues to be, so much a part of your charm and allure. It was instant. I remember I had been cast on the show just a few weeks before. And so I was able to do this screen test, and there were a few girls that were doing the scene. And when Laura came on, it just was, it was just magic.
I don't know how.
Well, probably just because you were just so happy to be there, and just even the audition itself was a dream come true for you. And so bringing that to the audition, I think that's a large part of it. You knew you were where you were supposed to be.
And I have to just say, if it weren't for Eric, I would have been there 5 minutes, because I had no clue. Eric and Nada Rowan, because I had no clue. And Eric was like, okay, we're going to meet on Sunday nights at my apartment and we're going to work on the whole week. And we did. And it was just, you were such a gift. I love you so much.
And Sunday nights, I heard there was someone else at Eric's house who I think, Eric, you went to college with. Laura was talking about it in an interview recently.
Yes, well,
Billy.
It could have been Billy. Yeah, Billy
Or
was
Ty.
a big part. Or Ty. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Laura
Billy
got to know-
Porter. Yeah.
Billy Porter. Yeah. Laura got to be almost like, she got to know my Carnegie Mellon friends and got to be as close to them as I was. We all kind of took her under our wing. I was just fresh out of school. And so I was bringing all of these, drama school approaches to the scenes. And Laura was like, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, okay, throw it at me. Let's try it again.
Well, and then I would throw something out like, well, I don't, and he'd be like, look, Laura, you're going to have to ignore that and do it. And I'm like, okay. Like I would come up with like something that was ridiculous. And Eric's like, no. Or I would call his apartment every day to try and tell him if we were on or not, if we were airing. And he had an answering machine and I would yelling, trying to wake him up. Eric. And even Billy was like, they were like, why is she calling us and waking us up?
That's right.
That's so funny. I mean, here's somebody who graduated from Carnegie Mellon with a theater degree, and you came to New York. You must have been soaking up everything you were doing with Eric and everybody else at Loving, Laura.
Oh my God! Every moment with Eric, we laughed nonstop. It was a joy. I mean, it wasn't a time where it wasn't fun. We went to the Emmys 2 weeks after we got on the show.
You did.
And what did we show up in, Laura?
We show. There we are. Oh my! Look at you, Eric, with that look.
Just that
soap
hair.
opera look. I love it.
All that hair. Yeah, exactly.
Well, we showed up in a yellow taxi cab, and I was mortified, and Eric loved every second of it.
I did. It was a row. Yeah, it was like limousine, yellow cab.
Yellow cab. And then we were in the very back row, it was the last 2 tickets that they could have ever given anyone. And Eric's glasses were broken. And so every time the camera would sweep the audience, he'd take off his glasses. And I'm like, oh, they can't see us back here.
Right.
There's no way they're getting us back
Right.
here.
And remember, we went to this dinner. We didn't know. Oh, look there.
Oh, oh my God. I love it. I remember that night. When we belly laughed, we sat there to eat dinner and they're putting stuff in front of me. And I'm like, what's this?
Did you say that was 2 weeks after you started?
Yeah.
2 weeks, because if Susan Lucci didn't win, I was going to be on Good Morning America the next day because the gas station girl got a job on a soap opera and she didn't win. And so I was like, and immediately the publicists come up to me and they're like, you're out. You got to get home because we got to pick you up at 6 a.m. And I'm like, oh my God, what is happening? I had no idea.
Wow.
No idea.
Do you guys do you remember a favorite scene together? Something that stands out?
I don't know if I remember an exact one. Well, I sort of do, because when Laura says we laughed all the time, we really did, because we clicked immediately on camera, but we really did. And so we could just cut our eyes and just start laughing. And it's caught a few times in scenes. And there's one particular one that my office, I have been in casting for the last several years, and my office got a hold of a scene. And we're in a kitchen and we're having this, there's this family argument type thing. And I throw my napkin down and I get up from the table and you can see me trip. And I trip over this rug and fall out the door, and it cuts back to Laura, and she takes her napkin.
I didn't know what to do, so I just put my napkin, and it aired across America.
They kept it. I don't know why, but yeah. So it was so much about the laughter, and you can tell it's I've said this to Laura many times through the years, but whether somebody has trained in a fancy school or come from a gas station, if there is this instinct and there is just what I call this magic, it's gonna develop. if it's given the chance, the opportunity. And all Laura needed was the opportunity, because she got there
and the
and
amazing
she studied.
humans I get to that
Oh
are my
my
teachers.
God.
You know, my
But
teachers.
but you had that instinct that so many people who have incredible training, they don't have that. And you just had that, and you have developed it, and you have been a student all these years and just gotten stronger and stronger and stronger.
I love you so much.
I agree on the student. She watches everybody.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And like you said,
I'm such a fan of all mediums now. I can't get enough. And
yeah.
And not only is that in my personal life, but also in my pretend world. Because, you know, I get to bring all that yumminess to what I do. And that's why I love it so much.
And Eric, you said you're casting now, right? You're doing a lot of casting.
Yes, I was. I was all in casting, and now I continue doing casting, but I came to North Carolina. I'm the producing artistic director of the North Carolina Theater in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I get to do that and still go back and forth to New York with some casting from time to time. So yeah, it's keeps my hands full.
Have there been any gas station girls since?
No, not since. Nobody can come close to the gas station girl, in my opinion. So.
You know, I have to tell you the one thing I'll never forget Eric telling me, and this was early on. You said, don't let anyone steal your innocence and your spark. Because you said people are going to try to.
Yeah.
They're going to, this excitement that you have about life and jumping into everything you do. People, not everyone has it, and they're going to want to take it from you or make fun of you because of it. And you're like, don't ever let anyone take it away. And I haven't.
I know you haven't. I know you haven't. I know you haven't. I'm so proud of you. You just don't know. You just don't know.
I'm so proud of you.
And I'm thrilled, and thank you, Alan. I'm so thrilled that I was able to be a part of this and just tell you how much I love you and how proud I am of you. And congratulations to 30 well-earned years.
Thank you, Eric.
So
Thanks
much.
so much.
I love you.
Love you too.
You sneaky. My heart, fun. You know, I love him so much. He's
I read that, and that he was, you know, your first screen test. So you know.
My first screen test, I think my first, you know, outside of the friendships that you grow up with, my first best friend as an adult.
Well, also
the
you
most
moved to New
honest
York.
person on the planet. I'm sorry?
You moved to New York, so you were, you know, in this big city.
Oh,
you know.
I moved to this little apartment on 57th between 9th and 10th, and I had no air condition, and it was really hot. And I moved in June, and I remember being so afraid that I would shut the windows and sleep every night with no air conditioning, the window shut, and just sweat, lay there and die because I was so afraid someone was going to climb in my window. 9th floor, no fire escape. And for some reason, I thought Spider-Man was coming in. But I was terrified for a long time because I had never been away from home. And you know, hear all these horror stories about New York, and that was not the case. It was, I was fine and safe, and eventually got an air conditioner in the window and learned that I could, you know, take care of myself. But I moved there alone and spent a lot of time alone at first. Yeah.
Yeah. So having a friend, it must have been a really great thing with Eric.
Oh, he was incredible and a dear friend, and so much laughter. I mean, you know, Eric comes from a small town in North Carolina, and I came from a small town in Maryland, and there was a lot of similarities there. And I learned so much about the world of training and theatrical training from him that honestly, I don't know, being the person I was, if I could have ever done something like that, I would have been so afraid. So it was kind of like perfect that I was so handled by such a gentle soul like Eric. Like I was really taken care of and taught and guided. And his friends, instead of, you know, being annoyed that who was this gas station girl that got lucky and got a job, they all you know, welcomed me in with big hugs, and it was amazing. Yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah.
What do you think some of the biggest lessons you learned while playing Ally that you've taken to playing Carly today?
Oh, wow. Well, the experience, you know, I could never have started at Carly. I couldn't have done that. And being a half-hour show, on a show that really, you know, it was the lowest rated show on ABC at the time. And because of that, no one really bothered us, you know, and we were done. So it was a half-hour show too. So there was a lot of time to really be a family. Like when there was a Christmas, we would do a Secret Santa and actually do these incredible fun secrets and do these things on the show for each other. There was so much love and excitement. There wasn't this hierarchy or any egos, because it was just, you were all kind of in it together and hoping to keep staying on the air. It was a really amazing way to start this career, really.
One of our fans, Bree, was asking if you can talk about, you mentioned her earlier, Nada Rowland and Lisa, who played your grandmother and aunt.
Lisa played, Nada Rowan and Lisa Paluzzo. They played my grandmother and aunt. Well, Nada was funny because Nada, the one thing I remember most about Nada, she loved to run lines, which taught me that was important. She was all about her props. And I talk about her all the time on set on General Hospital, because if I have my props and someone comes in to mess with them, I'm like, whoa, these are my props. Find your own. I'm working with mine. And Nada would do that all the time, which made me laugh. She was like, dude, she was the prop, you know, she rehearsed it. And I remember props were important, so don't mess with hers. And then she taught me, like, use your props during a dress rehearsal, like, you know, learn it. And Lisa was so amazing and so much fun, because she, well, first of all, she played my aunt, but she was like a sister, and she was so nurturing to me off camera. But she was so funny. I mean, you can go back and watch any of Loving's material, and Lisa had the comedic timing that was just incredible. And I think I saw all of that when I brought, you know, when I was able to play Carly, one of the things I wanted to bring to Carly was humor. And I think I learned a lot of that from Lisa. And you can go back and watch. She is hilarious and funny and aware of everything happening in a scene. So awesome. I love that.
That's awesome. And paired with Paul Anthony, Casey to your Ally. What did that relationship teach you, sort of, about soap couples? And because I know his death, you know, devastated you, because not only Casey, but your friendship with Paul.
Oh gosh, I was so Paul. You know, Eric and I still stayed super close, and I didn't work with him very long in the love story. It was very different with Paul. He was there, I think, a good 3 years. And they did a full love story with Casey and Ally. And I was so young. I didn't know really a big deal. I was sure I was madly in love with Paul at the same time, and he's an easy person to love. And you know, you work all these hours together, saying all these lines that are so mushy and in love, and all you do is spend time with your co-star. It was hard for me when he left. I think I lost 10 pounds. I was like devastated. You also lose your buddy every day at work, right? Like, he's your partner at work, and then on set, and then you're playing the storyline of someone dying. And it felt like someone had died because he wasn't there anymore. And so it was really hard. I missed him so much. And so I had to learn that this is life as an actor, and these are things that happen. And I mean, luckily I got to work with him later on Guiding Light, which was incredible as well. How lucky am I that I got to work with him twice, playing two different kinds of situations. Totally. But yes, it was amazing. Amazing. I love working with Paul. I loved working with Paul. I learned so much from him. You know, Paul really taught me boundaries, because Paul is really strict with his boundaries, and I knew none of those. You know, Eric and I were just a mesh. And Paul taught me a lot, and how important they were, and how to respect them with myself and with others. It was the biggest gift. One of the biggest gifts I learned from Paul was that.
Huh. That's great. And then I know that really is. I mean, that's interesting though, because two different.
Well, because when you're working in this world, and daytime, and it's a lot of actors, and it's very intimate at times, you need to be able to separate and to have boundaries. It's very important. So then you can show up but also boundaries allows trust. And so then you can trust each other more. So then when you're in the moment on stage and giving and receiving, there's a respect and trust there. Very important, I think, as an actor.
Well, that's what's so incredible about 30 years, the things that you just have learned.
I'm sure at the time I hated it.
You're like
At the time, I'm like, what do you mean you don't want me in your face 24/7?
You don't want to hang out tonight? What?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Like, what do you mean you have to have a life? Like, but now I truly get it. I mean, it's one of the biggest gifts you can have is someone that helps you with that, for sure.
And were you and Kelly Ripa roommates during Loving or The City?
Well, we weren't roommates. We lived, I lived on 57th between 9th and 10th. She lived between 8th and 9th. And she lived at the Sheffield. She lived on the hour show money apartment, and I lived on the half hour. And I remember her building was called the Sheffield, and I didn't have air conditioning. So what I had said in those interviews that I might as well have lived with her, because any chance I could get to her apartment in the summer that had air conditioning, I was there. Oh, and she was so amazing. She was like, "Get over here!" Like, are you kidding? And I met her my first night in New York City. Rena Sofer, who played Rocky at the time on Loving, called Kelly and said, "Hey, a fan got a job and she really wants to meet you. You want to go out to dinner with us tonight?" And that's how I met Kelly. I was eating a burger and fries at, I think it was Mel's Diner, or it was, I think it was like on 58th and I don't know. And I was eating like French fries and a burger, and Kelly and Rena were eating something way more healthy, and they're watching me and they're like, she'll learn. She won't be living. And boy, they were right.
That's funny.
Yeah.
And
so
then
much fun.
Loving was canceled and The City, right?
Yes. And The City began. That was a amazing and difficult.
Yeah. Were you sad when Loving was canceled?
Oh yeah. I mean, the people, again, this is my first, right? Like, so now I get that it's the business, this is what happens, shows come and go. But then I was like, what do you mean? And then people that I adored were being killed off on this serial killer thing they did, or some weren't, but they weren't coming to the city with us. And I ended up being like one of the longest running characters, and I'd only been there like 5 years. And so it was very bittersweet. It was exciting to do something new, and with a whole new set, and the way they shot it was so different. But my family, the people that I felt safe with and felt taken care of by, weren't coming. So it was hard. But amazing. It was a great experience for me.
Well, and then it, made way for Guiding Light. And Jim Brown and Barbara Essenston were at The City, right?
Yes, they wrote for The City. They were the head writers and created it. Yeah.
And then they went to Guiding Light and brought you there.
They did. I was when The City was canceled, I had never really done much auditioning because I was working. And when the show got canceled, I called my agent and I'm like, so everyone's going on auditions and I'm not. She's like, yeah, why don't you come in and meet the other agents because they don't really know you. And so I did that, and I auditioned for a pilot and I booked it. And I went to Vancouver for 2 weeks, and it didn't get picked up. Buffy the Vampire Slayer got picked up instead. So I kind of get it. And I came back and I told my agents, I really like daytime. And so I had an audition between All My Children and then Guiding Light. And they said, okay, well, All My Children is a doctor, and Guiding Light is a stripper from the wrong side of the tracks, but she has a really good heart. I'm like, say no more. Let me, this whole stripper thing sounded way more fun than a doctor. And the whole time, Jim and Barbara were the ones that had requested me, and I didn't know it at the time. And then I screen tested with Kim Zimmer, and which was extremely intimidating. And so,
talk about that.
Well, I didn't watch the P&G shows, so I didn't know how powerful she was, like how amazing she was, until like right before I went in. I started watching and reading up and talking to people, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is like a really big deal. So I just wanted to make sure I knew the lines backwards and forward. And so we really just did one take each. Had to get very emotional and go at each other a little bit because, we ended up being sisters. But how that was revealed was very dramatic. And so the audition was really kind of high stakes, and it was all happening when I think Kim or I think there was some trial going on, Annie's trial or Reva's trial, but I know Kim was working all day long on set, and I think on her lunch break or some other little break, she ran in the studio and did a screen test with me and ran back to work. And I'm like, okay, I really got to up my game to work here. If she can do that, I got to figure this out. And so a week later, they called and told me I had the role, and it was incredible. And that became a whole nother, I mean, you know, CBS, very different than ABC. And then you have to figure out how they do it on this show. And it was exactly what I needed. It really was. It was, if you wanted to up your game, I was really taken care of. I was kind of safe, I mean, outside of the show, but I could have stayed on Loving if it would have stayed there. The little, you know, heroine. Mm-hmm. But I had to, you know, I had to learn a lot more in a whole different way when I went to Guiding Light, if I wanted to play ball.
When you got there, it was Frank Grillo and Wendy
Frank Grillo and Wendy Monet. I worked with them, and oh my gosh, Jordan Clark. I was gonna say Billy Clark, but Jordan Clark. I had to do like pretend to fall in love with him. Oh, you talk about an actor that just steals your heart, and God, it was incredible. It was an amazing experience to work with him.
Happy birthday, Jordan Clark. I think his birthday. I think yesterday might have been his birthday.
It was incredible to work with him. I got to work with, you know, Kim and Robert at first as well. Yeah, it was like.
Well, Terrell was asking, what do you remember about working with Frank?
Frank Grillo?
Yeah.
He took no shit, that's for sure. It was his way. And he was all in, you know, like when you watch his intensity on the show that he did for so long, Kingdom, it's the same thing. He showed up every day with intensity, wanted to make sense of it. He wanted it to be not good, he wanted it to be great. And so you automatically show up going, okay, there's a bar here, and we're gonna try and hit it. And there's no messing around, you know, and I love that, because even if that's not how I show up, I get to learn from that, you know, and I loved working with him. I loved working with Wendy. I still adore her. I could watch Wendy open the mail. She's so talented, absolutely stunning, and so incredible to watch her work. I've always been a fan. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. You mentioned you and Kim being sisters. I was very lucky to be there that day on set with the brooch.
I think I still have it in a box somewhere, the champagne bottle that you brought to set.
Oh,
Yes, you did. Because it was a big deal for that to find, because we played that storyline for so long, and we popped a bottle of champagne and you poured a glass for Kim and I to congratulate that. And yes, if I didn't keep the bottle, I kept the cork, but I know I had it on my shelf forever in my dressing room.
I mean, you know, watching that unfold in front of your, I mean, fans watched it on TV, but to see it right there in the raw moment was just, you know.
I have to say, you know, you rehearse, you run lines, in your head you rehearse, and you get moments like that. When you know a scene, when you're getting to the end of a storyline and it's that big and the reveal is what the audience has been waiting for, there's a lot of pressure, you know, like you don't want to screw up then, you know, and so you want to make sure you have the lines, you want to make sure all that's done. And I remember that being probably one of the first times ever that I was kind of out of body and so emotionally there. And Kim is so incredible and powerful that you just, when you lock into those eyes, you're just there with her. And I remember that being the first time I felt that. Now, it continued for 8 years of working on Guiding Light after that. But that was that first moment for me when it changes as an actor. Like, it's not about the lines and did I act it well? Did I do it well? When you're so dropped in and you don't even know what's happening around you, you don't even see the cameras, that's magic. And I remember that being the first time that happened for me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of magic, the magic of Prince Richard and Cassie
Oh.
is another, Casey and Ally,
Oh,
Prince Richard.
Richard and Cassie.
Talk about that. I mean, because that's magic.
Oh gosh, that was such a beautiful storyline. When I came to General Hospital, I had so many girls on the show going, I was so in love with Richard and Cassie. The actors, I'm like, oh my God, you watch? Because so many of them grew up watching the CBS shows. And so they were like, oh, and so that was amazing. I loved it. It was a beautiful fairy tale story. That was such a well-written, well-told love story. And I know that it kind of got stretched, the whole San Cristobal, and we were kind of on an island after the characters got married. It was like a separate show a little bit. But the whole love story of Richard and Cassie was amazing. And then heartbreak. I mean, what a perfect, isn't that, when you read any great old novel or anything, it ends with someone's death, unfortunately, because you can't be happy. They rip it from you. And
they seem to rip it from Laura Wright. Casey,
that's all right. I like what I know. Casey was killed. Richard was killed. Killed a couple of my kids on General Hospital.
Hart was killed, wasn't
Hart?
it?
Oh my God! Yeah, you don't want to be my co-star.
Yeah, seriously, I forgot. She shot him. I totally forgot.
Oh, that's Wendy, right. Yeah, Dinah.
Wasn't that Wendy going on the run? Because it was
Yes.
Wendy shooting him, and then Gina showed up.
I think. That? Oh yeah. That is what happened.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
That is so funny. So funny. But yeah, I thought that was an incredible love story. I loved it. And loved working with Bradley. He taught me so much God, all my guys have been amazing.
well, speaking of Bradley Cole, I wanted him to be here.
Oh.
He has sort of, retired from television.
The daytime world.
He has. But this is a message from Bradley. Laura Wright is celebrating 30 years in soaps. My gosh, are we that old? Where did the time go? I remember meeting her at the old studios on 44th Street. She was a bundle of energy and still wet behind the ears, laughing out loud. And now a seasoned vet. Please wish her congratulations from me and to go for 40 years. When I reminisce, I seem to remember only the good times, and they were amazingly good at GL. What I most remember with Laura is that we were cracking up hysterically, literally all the time. We shared the same quirky sense of humor, and we could make each other laugh at the drop of a hat, or at the very least crack a smile when we needed it most. I believe that's the ingredient that led us to trust each other and led us to be friends, and not a too shabby acting duo, if I dare say so myself. So please tell her thank you for those very fond memories. And when I think of those times and the craziness and the silliness and the pressure and the passion behind what we did at the show, I find myself smiling and even sometimes laughing out loud. It will always be special to me.
Oh, it sounds just like him, and that's absolutely adorable.
His kids are 15 and 12.
Oh, I can't believe that. I mean, mine are 22 and 20, so I get it. But oh my gosh, he's right. I remember there were a couple times. I remember, like, when Eric was telling you the story where he went to fall out of the room and they aired it, and I had to put the napkin up and laugh. They did that on Guiding Light. There was one time when Cassie thought she had the measles, I think. And he did something and had this big grin on his face. And it was a ridiculous, goofy grin because he was trying not to laugh. And we just knew they wouldn't air it, right? Like they would cut out on me. They wouldn't use that. It aired across America. And he was so like, why would they air that? And so he's like, we have to be careful because they will put it out there. And then one time we did a scene where the most fun, I tell you, some of our best times on Guiding Light was the party scenes. Because it was like the big, there was always like, a New Year's Eve or someone getting married or this kind of ball or the San Cristobal, we went to Puerto Rico. Oh my God. So much fun. I was like just a vacation for everybody. And
I almost showed the picture of you and Kim kissing that I have.
I remember playing spoons with her, and it was getting down to just me and her. And I remember we were, and of course she won, but we're like diving across the table to go at the spoon, and she got it before me. Oh my God, so much fun. And that was
Did
like
Robert Malazzo teach us that? I feel like he did, the photographer.
It was so much. I got to play that game with kids. That's like
I don't even remember how to play, but we had a blast.
Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. But I just remember diving across that table with her. But God bless Bradley. I loved working with him so much. And we had the party scenes were so much fun. And I don't know how they put up with us, because everyone would talk and laugh, and they'd have to yell at us to be quiet so we would actually get something accomplished in a day. And it was amazing. And you know, you got close to your actors, you know, your castmates when you did that.
And Stephanie Gachet playing your daughter. She played your daughter before you actually had Lauren, right?
I had Lauren in
'98.
Very close.
Oh,
Cassie,
no.
yeah. Cassie had Tammy and other kids. You know, Stephanie didn't play the character of Tammy before I had Lauren, but I had, you know, Cassie came on in '97 with the daughter. So it was so funny. The biggest question was, are you mad? Are you mad that they hired someone that looks that's older to play your daughter? And I'm like, you know, because she wasn't 7 or 10. I think she was a teenager. They came on having and I'm like, no, I just want to be able to tell story. Like, I don't care. And I was like, plus we look like sisters, right? I always say that with Stephanie, I would always be like, but we're really sisters, you know. But I loved it.
Stephanie was a great, you know, actress to play your daughter. Like,
she was fantastic, and not only was she a great actress, she was a great human. She was a great person to have at the studio every day. To share a day with Stephanie and to have scenes with her was just amazing. And always happy to be there. Always baking everything. Every time she'd come in from a weekend, she had baking telling me what she's baking, and I just loved having her around. It was a joy, absolute joy.
And one of our fans was asking, what do you remember about Tommy, working with Tommy?
Oh gosh, he was fearless. He was so fearless, but in a way that was so, I learned from Tom that you could do some really evil things and still have the audience root for you. I mean, I remember a scene he did where David McDonald came in and was like, and had every right to come in and just want to kill him, you know, and punching him. And as he got hit, he turns his face back to camera, and he's got like tears coming down. And he's like he's playing the scene like, you're right, I deserve it, but not too much where it's self-indulgent. Like, it was so incredible. And I'm like, damn, he just took every bit of empathy. He just took it. And without even trying, it was just incredible. And he was always so happy to be there. Like, he brought such incredible energy to every scene he played, whether it was he was angry or happy or having to be manipulative. It was, you know, it's what you're watching today. You talk about a guy who's had it. I mean, this kid was born with it. And you can, you know, anything he's doing right now, it doesn't surprise anyone.
Yeah.
He's just got that thing, and it's that spark of, and I think what's fascinating about someone like Tom is that, you know, everybody, you know, I can't speak for him on what he doesn't want, but you see, like, he's the guy, he can't do anything else. Like, when you hear, when someone says, I don't know, I would die if I wasn't acting, I couldn't, like, and he's that guy. Like, he is so present. And I don't know, I just find him incredible. And and I'm so happy for him. He's such a joy.
Yeah, he deserves it. So 1997, sorry, not 1997, 2005 comes along and GH comes knocking. How hard, I mean, I know it was a, you know, big decision. How hard was it to say goodbye to, you know, a role you loved?
Oh, I had to go to therapy. And that's not a joke. I remember sitting on the floor in my kitchen crying, talking to my therapist on the phone going, oh my gosh, I was the guilt, the fear. And she said, okay, if you take all your emotion, that you have attached to this show and the people there, and you were just offered General Hospital. Can you go play this role? And I'm like, oh, I would kill it. I'd bring it on. Like, I was so excited for the role of Carly. And she goes, that's your answer. You know, like, it's not that you're just moving on to your next thing. It isn't, you're not leaving anyone behind. You're stepping forward. And you know, and then my last day on Guiding Light, I was doing a scene. It was out of order. So I was doing a scene with, I cannot remember the storyline exactly, but I was doing a scene where there was a older version of Tammy there, or I think Cassie might have had another daughter. I can't remember, but for some reason I thought she was a brunette, so I couldn't have been Tammy. But and it was some scene I was shooting out of order for down the road before I left, and before Nicole came on, and they were like, okay, that's a wrap. And I was like, oh my God, that's it. And then Ellen Wheeler comes running through the door because she wasn't supposed to be there because she had a meeting at the network, with flowers to say goodbye. And that's kind of when I hit the floor and sobbed like a baby. And then, you know, could barely walk out of the building hugging everybody there. It was rough. It was rough.
And I think when you won the Emmy, you said, thank Jill Farron Phelps for that phone call. What did she say that convinced you?
Well, behind the scenes, this has nothing to do with the show or actors or anything like that. Behind the scenes, because every actor who has worked on any show knows that there's the negotiating behind the scene thing that is business. A lot of things, they knew that General Hospital was calling. I had turned General Hospital down. I chose to stay on Guiding Light. So I went into negotiation because my contract was up, and I asked for some simple things. But they were probably the next level things that you would ask for if you're feeling like, okay, I've been doing this for 8 years. They really want me to stay. I kind of want these. And the funny thing is, it wasn't a money. I wasn't asking for another dime. I was asking for some security things to make sure that, you know, like one of the things I asked if I could be moved to As the World Turns if Guiding Light was canceled. So could my contract be with P&G, not just Guiding Light? So I was trying to hope to keep, you know, working mom and wanting to keep a job.
That's a smart business woman.
And I understand that would probably be a tough one, but you know, another show was calling, and I was like, maybe they could say no to that. I get it, right? But they said no to every single thing I asked for, and I was so like sad, like, gosh, you know, I didn't even ask for a pay raise. And in that same day, Jill called me back. Jill Phelps called me back and said, I'm calling to show the love. Bob Guza has to have you. They're refusing to take no for an answer. And I'm like, boy, you couldn't have called at a better time, because the answer is yes. And right there in that moment, I took the job.
Wow.
And then
how
of
long
course,
did you work for Jill?
Oh gosh, from 2005 till about, I don't know when she left. Until she left, I don't really, the whole time that she was on, from 2005 until she left General Hospital. But yeah, and then of course, then, you know, P&G kept calling, or it wanted to negotiate on and say yes to all those things. But I was like, no, I didn't want to play that game. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care to do the back and forth, and it wasn't that. I really had to go with what I felt like was the sign. They said, no, this is your next move. And so I did it. And
no regret.
Oh God, no. No, because it was the next experience I was supposed to have. Like, I remember moving to California, which was very difficult, and moving my family away from family and kids in a neighborhood that I love. Like, it was a big deal. But I remember driving through California thinking, oh, I wonder where I'm going to live next. Like when you really make a big move, you realize there's so many incredible places on this planet to explore. Who says I have to stay in the same one? And so that's kind of, you know, how I felt. But no regrets, not because like I'm out of here, more like, well, this was my next move. This is what I was supposed to do. And I got to love and have incredible experiences on Guiding Light with these people who to this day are a part of every incredible memory. My kids were born there. But I was supposed to now work with these people, you know. And
you happened to meet a young man there.
Who? What do you mean? I
Guiding Light. Yeah.
Oh, Wes? Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
yeah, but that was very different. He was like 23, I think, or 22.
But you did meet him, you know. You did meet him there.
I did.
You mentioned you were excited at the prospect of playing Carly. Were you still watching GH, and had you seen the other ladies? Did you know?
Well, I watched. Funny story. When I was on Loving, and Sarah Brown, who was playing Carly at the time, who originated the role, she was pregnant, and we were both in the bathroom at the Emmys and talking and laughing. And when we walked out, she went over to Wendy Rich. She's like, "If I ever leave the role of Carly, she should replace me." And that was like how many years ago, when I was on Loving. So how weird is that? But yes, I watched Sarah. I really loved Sarah version of Carly. And at the time, I felt, at least for ABC, she really brought this like fearlessness to the ugly cry, and this powerful woman that, you know, because Daytime for so long, and I'm outside of a handful, at least in the ABC world, your bitchy, strong females were still very glamorous and beautiful. And not that Sarah wasn't those things. She's a beautiful woman, but she really brought the gut-wrenching pain and ugly cry and energy to Carly that it wasn't always pretty, because guess what? You know, life isn't always pretty. And I loved that. And it's like she gave us permission to go there. And
you watched Tamara too? I
watched Tamara. She, yes, I loved her. And then she brought that, but with the softness, you know, her version of Carly was a little softer and brought a lot of a different kind of emotion. And the love story, I think, with Sunny was different, came across different with her. And then I watched Jenny Branford play her as well. And she brought this, I felt like, and again, it's because of how they wrote it. And I was tuning in as they were writing her off. And there was this like desperateness, panicness to her. And I just thought, how can I honor every actor who's played her before me? Because I'd never recasted someone before this. And how can I honor what the audience loves about this character? But then I wanted to bring all of those things, and I wanted to make her funny. I wanted you to see that she can be this like little brat and do things that were so horrible, but then feel 100% justified in her actions of doing them. But with a way that was childlike and vulnerable and not just a bitch.
Yeah. I think I would have been petrified if I, you know, like I watched Guiding Light, like if I was coming on to replace somebody I had been watching, like, was it overwhelming to like, I mean, because like you were thinking smartly, like you just said, you wanted to bring the best of them, but that's still, if you are a fan of that
terrifying.
show.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would say after 4 months, Jill called me up to her office and she said, you can stop walking on set with all 3 actresses on your shoulders. You have the part. And I was like, I went, oh my God, thank you so much, because it was really hard.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. And you kind of needed that, right? I needed someone to say, hey, you know what? It's
but it's in your head.
Yeah.
Just
constantly. And is this right? And then you're wondering, like, it wasn't like she had been gone for 6 months or a year or 2 years. There was only maybe a 2-month gap where Carly was sent away to like a mental hospital or something. And so you know, you're wondering what the other actors are thinking, you know, is Maurice, which I know what he was thinking, but was Maurice staring at me and like, you know, thinking, God, she sucks. I want my people back, you know. Steve, who, you know, is like my brother now, but who was supportive from the day I walked in the door. But, you know, and then the other actresses, because they had me coming in really getting in people's faces, and I would do it. Like, I mean, the other women must have been like, who the hell is this girl? But they were amazing. You know, Becky Hertz, I had to work with her a lot. Gosh, Kimberly McCullough, my goodness gracious, I just had to smack her in the face, I think, a month after I was there. Kelly Monaco, I was always like fighting with her. So it was, yeah, it was, Nancy Grahn, I mean, like, oh my gosh, I was having to say, and then I have to stop the scene, you know, in between scenes, I'm like, what is our relationship? Who are you to me? And why am I yelling at you and saying these things? Thank you. Great. You know, it was.
But
And
you
it
were a
wasn't
fan, so what?
like one little scene. It was like every day and monologues of just spewing
But
stuff
you were
that
a
wasn't
fan,
very
so-
good. Right.
So what was it like? There's Maurice Bernard, Steve Burton, people you had been, you know.
Well, I also heard like rumors about Maurice that turned out to none of them be true. You know, that he was going to tell me what I couldn't say, and he was going to cut my lines. And I'm like, he didn't do any of that, nor did he care. And to know Maurice doesn't do that ever, by the way. I don't know who he was before I came on, but he's never been that person ever. He's incredible and funny and does his job. Like, I mean, more so than half the actors there. Like he's, you know, he's amazing. But yeah, I was terrified. And Maurice didn't want to, we have this funny story, and I never let him forget it. I tell this all the time, and I bring it up all the time, and we laugh. But I had to meet him in a private meeting with Brian Franz, and the writers and Maurice, and we're in an office at ABC, and Maurice is sitting there real quiet on the couch, just like doing his like Maurice thing, not talking, looking at me, and they're all asking me questions. He says nothing to the whole meeting. And we're laughing and chatting and everyone's having a good time except Maurice. And he's like sitting. And I go, can we talk privately or like, and he's like, you know, I have the flu. I don't really feel good. So and I'm like, okay. And so he was like, I wasn't sure if I wanted you to have a job, so I didn't want to lie to you.
Wow.
Oh my God. Oh, but to this, like, it's the funniest thing ever. Like, cause he's like, I know, I get it. Okay. I get it. Like, you know, I'm always like, are you feeling your throat sore today? You feeling okay? How you doing? Like, but he was, the second I ever confronted him about that or asked him about that, he was honest. Like, he doesn't lie. So he's like, he didn't really want to have, you know, he's like, I wasn't sure because, you know, everything was shifting so quickly with the character of Carly at the time. But, you know, Maurice isn't a liar. And so I respect that.
That's awesome.
I loved him.
William says, it's funny that the male characters on General Hospital constantly think Carly is wrong. But in the end, Carly is right about everything.
Oh, everything. How she goes about it is always wrong.
Carly fan says, wow, it was meant to be for you to play the role. Please stay until the end. I don't think we could take another new actress.
Oh, well, thank you.
There's a lot of love for Carly.
Well, I love it. I love it, love it, love it.
What's the best part about playing her?
I love playing her because I learn from her. You know, I learn that the script doesn't have to be black or white. You know, like I can take any scene now, almost any scene, and I can tell whatever story I want to it on this emotional journey. And she is that character. There's not one way. Carly has so many things about her that are just incredible. And I get a script and I, you know, not every day am I like, this is incredible. Like, and I'm sure not every time that someone sees my work do they think that, but it is amazing that I can tell any story through Carly. There's hardly any story that cannot be told. And I love that. I love that as an actor that I don't have any limitations with this character. I believe, you know, I'm very open to almost anything. It would have to be something super insane for me to go, guys. It'd probably be nudity. I don't know. Like I'd be like, I gotta pull the plug on that. But I really love that it's freeing with Carly. Like in my body and everything, I get to. And I also get to pull back and watch others' journey, and I get to work, and all of her relationships. They aren't, you know, again, like they're not black and white. When I started, Carly hated Elizabeth and Robin, and I just had incredible scenes about a month ago with Becky Herbst, and not that they're not always, you know, they're probably not always going to be in the world of buddy, and because of their past issues, they'll probably still always have reasons to butt heads, which makes for a great story, but you still can have these moments that are relatable and beautiful. And I love that.
Was there somebody who took you under your wing when you got there?
Think back. Well, not really. I know I got to work with Steve a lot, Steve Burton, and he was great. He's helpful, super helpful with the history, that I didn't know. And well, Elizabeth, who Cordier, who was one of our writers, God knows, I mean, she's been there forever, and no one knows more than her. And I can call her at any time and say, even to this day, I'll call her and say, I didn't play Carly then. Can you give me a deep description so I can visualize it as I'm telling the story? And so she helps me there. And I've worked, so much with Ingo Rademacher. We got to work, we played a couple for about 6 years, which was super fun and amazing. Yeah, it was just, I kind of felt, you did feel, Carly's a character that when the storyline that was going on when I came on, I felt on my own, which is okay because I had to figure it out.
Dive in.
I did, and I had to find her footing, and Laura had to. I had to toughen up, and this is my new home, and you got to figure it out. And Carly wasn't she was trying to get Sonny, and he didn't want her, arguing with Jason, and he had the girlfriend, and Carly didn't really have a lot of friends that were girls. So, which I think is hilarious, because they may be competition one day. So I just might as well not like you now. Ridiculous, but so funny to play, That's
so funny. You started loving working with Mr. Roger Howarth.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
You get to Guiding Light and Cynthia Watros.
Yes.
And now the three of you are all in Port Charles.
Crazy.
I mean, what's that, knowing that you all have this crazy history?
Well, Roger and I, worked together. It was a short time on Loving, but long enough for me to just always have fun with Roger. I didn't have to work with him too much one-on-one, but we were in the same building. Super funny guy. Loved when he came on playing Todd. Loved the Carly and Todd relationship. Such a great time. And Lisa Cicero, I worked with her on Loving and on The City, and then now she's on General Hospital. And then Cynthia, I was so excited when she was coming on because she's so great, mm-hmm. and probably one of the nicest, kindest human beings walking the planet. It was amazing. That's what's so great about this world. Mara West is probably one of my favorite people on the show, and I used to, and her very well, and I used to watch her on World Tour.
Did you know? Did you know?
Very little. Very, very little. I was such a huge fan. Mm-hmm. She's such a powerful actor, and I was such a huge fan. And so excited when she came on. I remember when I voted for her category when she won the last Emmy she won on As the World Turns. And I was watching the reels with a couple of my girlfriends who worked in production on General Hospital. And I was like, when her thing came up, I was like, this is the one right here. And they were like, her work was just incredible. And so to get to share the stage with Mara and also be a buddy, and she makes me laugh nonstop. She was texting me the other night, and we're going back on the TV shows that we should be binging right now. And why we should and shouldn't. And but we just belly laugh. To work with her is incredible. Love, love, love Mara.
Was Emmy at Guiding Light when you were there, or?
No, she came on after I
that's what I thought.
And she was my dressing room neighbor before she left. She was right next to me. And Kirsten's across the hall, and James Patrick Stewart is diagonally across from me. And those are my neighbors.
That is so funny.
It's a gift. It's look, I don't ever take it lightly. I'm grateful every day. I love my boss. Frank Valentini is a super hard worker, and he is he's keeping it going in a way that's amazing and taking care of everybody at the same time. And I love the people I get to work with. I really do enjoy everyone. COVID was not an easy go of it, and everyone getting back to work was important. And everyone showing up and doing what needs to be done to keep us safe and to keep everyone still working has been, we've really done well with that. So all around, just super grateful to be 50 years old and still working like this. I'm just honored. I really am.
And you really, I think Eric said it, I bet your excitement. I know you, and you love to work, and it's,
I do.
You do. And so let's talk about that man in your life.
Wes Ramsey?
What? Or two? Is it two now? Kimba? Is that a man? Or
Kimba's a girl. No,
okay,
Kimba's our girl.
But I was asking about the man then first, because
yes.
What do you remember about meeting him at Guiding Light?
Oh, I remember I was like, this one's like dangerous. Like, I'm like, and he would run lines, or I would run lines with him, and he would, because you could say, hey Wes, because he's not going to say no. But like if I said, hey Robert, he'd be like, I'm too busy. So you knew you could get the younger guys to like rehearse with you, so you can like learn your lines. And I remember doing that and having scenes together. We had a few different scenes together, and I really remember. This is interesting. I remember this Emmy. I can't remember the Emmys. All I know is I had that real short haircut. It was the year I cut all my hair off. And I was taking pictures of everyone. And I was running around taking pictures of like, oh, let me get you. And I got a picture of Wes. And there was this girl like with her legs all, a gorgeous redhead with her legs on him. And he's got a cocktail looking all handsome. And I found it in my photos. And I'm like, dude, look at this. And he's like, oh my God. I remember taking this photo. Like I remember this whole moment. And that's really it. And, I had just, if the first time I met him, I was pregnant with my son. And then I had LJ the couple times he came back. And very, 7-year age difference is really different at that point in your life than it is when you're in your 40s. And so, he's doing a whole different life and I'm raising babies. And so then we, 4.5 years ago, we ran into each other at an Emmy party, and it was.
What makes it work?
Oh, we just honestly have so much fun together. We laugh. We have a lot in common. And then the things that we don't, we get to learn from each other. Mm-hmm. We spend a great deal of time together. But the laughter, and then also the respect of each other's space. I don't know. Life is really good. It's full of love and fun and communication. And we just spent a week with his family in Kentucky, and then a week with mine in Colorado, and being able to say, how do we, and meshing two different worlds at this point in your life. Wasn't easy at first, just because you're each doing it differently for so long and so differently. He was a bachelor and I was married for 17 years. So I mean, very different worlds. And bringing that together it took some maneuvering, but when you're happy and willing to do it, it really wasn't that hard. And it's just really a good time. And even when things are tense and stress and COVID, it's like you team up, you become a team. And I don't know, life's good.
I think you said it. Laughter is the best medicine.
And we laugh, and not to take stuff too seriously. And someone else's life is just as important as yours, and their needs and wants are just as important as yours. And it's.
Well, I was just, I posted the picture of you in Puerto Rico. And Lauren was a baby when we were in Puerto Rico.
And we were passing her all around the plane when we were flying out, because I'm like, who wants her? She's going to cry. You take her and make her happy for a minute.
And she just graduated college.
Crazy. Right? 22 years old. She just graduated from college, and blows my mind every day.
What's she going to do?
She's moving to Prague September 1st. She's doing her and her boyfriend are going to Prague. Have I been there?
No, didn't you just go? Weren't you going to go with her?
She did a study abroad program there, and I visited her while she was there. And her and her boyfriend are moving September 1st. They're doing a 4-week course there to get a specific certificate to teach English, among other things. With this certificate, there's more job opportunities and better pay if they have it. And then they want to travel Europe, God willing, with COVID, what's ever happening, and teach these things online so they can see some of the world, I know.
I don't have many regrets in life. Not living abroad is one of them,
Right.
and not living away at college, but I don't think I would have had the jobs I had. So that one I can forgive. I wish
Right.
I lived abroad. God bless her for doing it. She should.
And she's
she should.
super excited. She'll be coming here. She's now traveling in a van across the Pacific Northwest coast, coming down here. She's like, her and her boyfriend living out of a van and hitting all the national parks, and loving it. And she'll be with me the last 2 weeks before she goes away. And it's really funny. People keep saying to me, "Are you okay with her moving?" And I'm like, yeah. And one of the things is when she was there for the 4 months, she loved it so much. I think it was the happiest I'd ever seen her. And she loves being in a city in New York. And we really talked about New York, but it's so expensive and difficult for a young woman right out of college. And so Prague is so affordable and so centrally located for her to travel and see, all the other countries. And so, but yet it just hit me the other day. I'm like, oh my God, like since she graduated, like for the past year, she really has been coming home to me a lot, even though she was in school, or I could just go hop up and visit her. It's like 2 hours away. And now I'm like, she's going to be really far. And so, it's finally hitting me that, and we FaceTime and talk every day. But
well, thank God for that, because you won't feel it. Right. You won't feel it as much. I spent 24 hours on the way home from Greece in Prague, and I thought it was one of the most spectacular cities, and I am dying to go back. I think it's incredible. Yeah, we're on the fence. We're of going at Christmas. It just depends on if she's going to be there. Because when she finishes her program, she's like, then we. They really help with job placement and the visas. They help you with everything with this program that she's doing. So she's like, I don't know if I'm going to be in Prague. Like, maybe I'll be in Portugal. And I'm like, all right, I'll come to Portugal. What she's going to learn. And LJ's in college?
LJ goes to Colorado State University in Fort Collins. He is a construction manager major, or construction management. And, so he's super excited about that, and he's doing well. He has an internship this summer, so he's staying there instead of coming home. That's why we took our family vacation to him, because he couldn't leave, and that was great. And
does he love Colorado?
He loves it. It's a little hot right now, hotter than usual, just like every place else. But yes, he does love it.
My nephews both live in Denver, so they left.
Yes.
They love it. Love it. Love it. Loving. Amazing. You are looking back on what I'm going to ask you this. Looking back on the 3 decades, what were the jobs or storylines that you think had the biggest impact on you as an actress?
Casey dying on Loving. Richard dying. It's the death scenes, right? Richard dying on Guiding Light. And I have to say the Guiding Light as a whole, that whole experience from cast, crew, everyone, it was a family, a home for me. And it was very different. I remember when we would leave work and there was the bar across the street, the Turtle Bay. And you could see a couple people sitting in the window, and you could go have a drink with Sean, costume designer, or Alex Johnson, and you go over there and you just it was home, it was family, and it's very different.
And you have Sean with you now.
I know, I do, and that is so. It's a joy. It's so fun. And when I'll see something on someone, I'll go, "Oh, that looks like something Cassie would have worn." And he's like, "I knew you were going to say that." It's so I love it. We have a great time, and it's like having a family member, here in California, in a different way.
Yeah, of course.
And so, but I think the whole experience of Guiding Light, of being in New York City, I really loved being on that show. I loved it so much, and the people and the experiences I had there. When I see their faces now, it just, it brings me joy and sad. Heartbreaking at times with what happened with David.
What do you remember? Shockingly.
Oh gosh, I remember a bundle of light and joy. Like attracts like. I remember that Emmy that I'm talking about with that short hair that I wore a certain dress that Sean had got me, this pink, beautiful dress that Susan Lucci was going to wear as one of her dresses when she hosted that year, but was told not to put that one on because I was in the audience with it on. It was such craziness. But David, I had to change because of the after party. They didn't want, it was a rental. I think we rented that dress. So I had to go back because I was presenting that year. And so David's like, I'll carry the dress, put it in the bag. Like it was like this. So I had this like pair of like funky pants and a top at the after party. And David carried around my dress in a bag the whole time. And we just kept laughing. Like if he had to go to the bathroom, I'd go and get a drink. I held onto the bag. And then it was his turn. Like the whole night was about us playing with this bag of a dress. He was just happy to be there and work. And, he was at first in the office when I was there and with Janet. It was, and I always hung out in the audience. I mean, the office, I would go down and answer phones and they would be like, stop answering the phone. They're going to recognize your voice. It was great. But and on General Hospital, I think so many moments, I've been there so long now, almost 16 years. And so
double guiding light. Isn't that mind-blowing?
Crazy. It's crazy. And it's feels very different, I have to say. It's a very different attachment. I'm not as attached emotionally. Like if something happened and I moved on, I probably wouldn't fall apart like I did leaving. Like it was really hard to leave Guiding Light. There was a attachment in a different way there. I feel like I'm a grown up here,
Yeah, you had your children there. There's a different.
Right. There was a lot of different, and it's not less important. It's just different. And the Carly Jack storyline, I absolutely loved. It gave me we called ourselves the Rachel and Ross of General Hospital because it got to be very playful and fun, and it was really, we had a great time. The Michael being shot in the head and the Morgan dying storyline, were pretty heavy. And then now working with Maurice, because the whole beginning of my run there, or so far, I never worked with Maurice as a love interest. We were always the exes, trying to control each other's lives. So now I've gotten to work with Maurice in a very different way, and it's been so fun. And now I'm working even more. Well, Steve I've always worked with, but and Steve's just one of my favorite people to work with. The relationship of of Carly and Jason is so complicated, and I trust Steve so much as an actor that sometimes we get scripts and I'm like, what do you think this is about? And he's like, I don't know. And then afterwards we'll have come up with something, and we just trust each other enough to just see what happens. And I'm like, oh, that was fun. And I just kind of skip off set, like, all right, see you tomorrow. So it's just it's just a joy, it's not taken too serious, but it is serious, we got to be here. We got to tell the story. We might as well have a good time doing it.
Well, you are a joy. You really are.
Thank you.
So you said you and Maura were just texting. Tell us what shows you're both watching.
She told me to watch Breaking Bad, which I didn't watch it back in the day because I was going through a divorce and I wasn't really happy. And so I didn't want more stressful stuff. I was like,
it's stressful, but watch it because you will be blown away.
And my son loved it. And he was like, I can't believe that you did not watch it. Like my son's ready to kill me.
But for acting, because that's what he
said. He kept saying, you could have played the wife. Like, he's like, you're just as, like, my son is so funny. And, I just finished the latest season of Handmaid's Tale. I think the acting on that show, I mean, the brutality I kind of get over. It's a little over the top at times. Like I didn't need for them to go back. But the acting, you just are blown away. That show is so well fleshed out on their performances, I think. Aunt Lydia, I mean, oh my gosh. So evil, but amazing. And what was the other one? Oh, Mosquito Coast. I just finished, which I really loved.
I want to watch that. I didn't. I
thought that the first 2 episodes were incredible TV making. Like the rest of the series is great too, but the first 2, you were like, wow, that's just great television, great storytelling. And so we do that. Like, what are you watching now? This, that, and the other. Or I don't know. This person's driving me crazy. Yeah, I totally can see why you mean that. Like, those are what we go back and forth saying.
So before I let you go, is there a role you've been watching that you say, God, I wish that was mine?
Well, I'm probably getting too old to play like, an alias type character, spy thriller. But yes, spy, dressing up in, cool, but maybe again, maybe the age does matter. Like much longer do I want to have to work out like crazy and worry about, fitting into like skin tight clothes. And I just became addicted to Madam Secretary. Never watched that show before.
Yeah, I saw you post about that.
Yeah, I'm like, how did I never see this? Because I love the whole spy thing. But the role of a lifetime will be a Law and Order type show that brings me back home to New York City and gives me a great job to live in New York City in a really nice apartment and get to work on the streets of New York. I feel like that's my next move. I don't know how it happens, but I feel like, that's my next move. New York or Chicago.
We'd love you back here.
I think Chicago PD is one of the best produced shows on television. I love Chicago PD. I really love it.
Jesse Lee from As the World Turns. Jesse Lee, right?
Oh, right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And he reminds me of my son. Like they have that same like little boy freckled look, and I'm like, oh my god! And my son's like, can you shut up and stop telling me that every time? I'm like, do you see? And he's like, ah. But yeah. So,
Laura Wright, congratulations, my friend.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for doing this, and
the
fans
adore me to do this.
Well, when I saw that, I mean, that's a major accomplishment, my friend. It's really,
And thank you for bringing Eric on and blowing up my heart and surprising me like that. He is still a dear friend, and I'll tell you a quick joke. His birthday, I think is I don't know what his birthday is. It's either September 3rd or September 23rd, and I always would wish him a happy birthday on the wrong date, and he was like, you're wrong. I'm like, I'm not wrong. I read it I read an article and because the magazine I got it wrong. So this year, so every year I always wish him a happy birthday on the wrong date every time, because I'm like, now you get 2 birthdays.
Well, I love that you two are still so close. That speaks volumes to that experience.
Yes. Well, he's a great human being.
That's
Thank
awesome.
you so much. Thank you.
Say hello to Wes for me.
I will. How do I get out of here? I don't even know.
I'll take care of it.
And thank you to everyone who showed up. Thank you.
Bye, Laura. Thanks so much, everybody, for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget, tomorrow, Academy Award winner Lee Grant will be here. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, you can do so down below. Turn on notifications so you get reminded of all upcoming shows. Have a great day, everybody. Bye.